welcome to the About That podcast with me, your host, your favorite geek psychologist, your favorite pop culture enthusiast, your favorite queen of the nerds, Dr. Vanessa Hintz. Y'all, I am so pleased to be joined today by the incomparable Dr. Lauren Chapple-Love. Lauren, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. You can't see me, but I'm raising the roof.
Raise the roof. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
For sure. Hey, what's going on? I am Lauren Chapple-Love. My fancy pants name is Dr. Chapple-Love, but none of y'all are my patients, so we're good. Lauren is fine. I am a licensed psychologist, so I got my doctorate and all the other fancy degrees nobody cares about, and I work out of Nevada. I have a private practice. I do nerdy things. I do psychotherapy things. I do forensic psychology things. I do all those things. I
Yes.
never know if I'm supposed to add like what kind of tree I would be in the woods or how you want me to do that, but I
You
can, I guess.
you can say whatever you want us
Oh,
to know.
I'm overwhelmed. I would be a tree with large flowing branches that protect marginalized community. I don't know. Yeah, I got I got nothing.
I love it. I've never had to answer that one. What kind of tree would you be in the woods? Because I don't like nature, really.
You're
So
like, I feel itchy.
right. I would maybe be a palm tree because that reminds me of home. So maybe I would just be a palm tree. I don't know. But y'all, I am so thankful to be having this conversation with you about the 2023 masterpiece that is The
Mm,
Little Mermaid.
mm.
I There's no one else that I would want to have this conversation with. I am very, very, very excited. And so the way that we're going to start this off is just by talking to you all a little bit about how we felt watching the film. We can throw in some historical references if necessary about how you felt about the original film. Because to be quite honest, I was never really like a original Little Mermaid stan like that. Like Sebastian was that dude always and forever, and that was about it for me. Because I felt some kind of way that immediately after seeing this man, she was like, "But Daddy, I love him." I just felt some kind of way about that, which
I
it was typical,
I
but
feel
I
like
just, I felt some kind of way.
No, yeah. So, fun fact about me, that 1989 Disney film was the first film that my folks took me to see, like
Nice.
in theaters. So, I am a fan. I've toyed with getting like a Ursula tattoo, like Pat Carroll's Ursula was my jam. I will sing that in the car. It's a whole thing. I don't sing it well, but I have fun doing it. You feel me? So I was a fan. I'm not like a go to Disney and dress up with it kind of fan, but I was very hesitant coming into the 2023 because I'm like, you can't beat that
Mm-hmm.
for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then
And
I saw it and I was like,
yes, not to mention Disney's live actions have not
hit or miss, hit or miss.
it's not been well done. And so I too was just like, y'all took 5 years to make this movie. Y'all better bring me something. You know what I'm saying? You better bring me something. And just to set the context for this. So at the time of this recording, The Little Mermaid has made $255 million in the
Mhm.
US, 212 million worldwide for a total gross of just under $500 million. And that makes it the fifth highest grossing remake ever.
Mm.
Ever. And to think about how many remakes we've seen through Hollywood, 99% of them are horror movies, which is a different conversation, but it is the fifth highest grossing remake in the United States. So people have been showing up and showing out to see the film. I have seen it twice in the theaters. We'll probably see it again because that's what I do. Movies are $5 on Tuesdays, and that's what I do. And so I
Uh,
go see it again. Who knows? But nonetheless, tell us a little bit about your. I'm doubly interested now, given that the 1989 film was so meaningful. It's sort of to you. Tell me about your experience watching the new film.
Yeah, I mean, I was hesitant going in. Here's me being a psych major talking about feelings first, right? But I was hesitant going in, and I knew it was going to be much better than I was worried it wouldn't be
Mhm.
when I go to try and get the little $5 Tuesday movie and it's sold out. And I was like, "Ooh, okay." So I enjoyed it. I love the changes. It always tickles me like how kiddos growing up today in 2023, they just have a new normative that I didn't have,
Yes.
as like a person growing up in the 80s and 90s and what have you. So it moved me, some of the changes that were between the old one and the new one. The new one of the changes I did want to bring up was the song Kiss the Girl. So in the 1989 version, the lyrics were, yes, you want her, look at her, you know you do. Possible she wants you to. There's one way to ask her. It don't take a word, not a single word. Go on and kiss the girl. And the new one, as you know, they changed the lyrics to acknowledge things like consent. So the
Whoa.
new lyric, yeah, the 2023 version goes, yes, you want her luxury, you know you do. Possible she wants you to. Use your words, boy, and ask her. If the time is right and the time is tonight, go on and kiss the girl.
Use
So
your
I
words, boy.
love, yeah, right, which I feel like I've said maybe at some point. Like, use your words. Like, come on. That might have been in therapy or something. Or maybe I'm saying that to myself. That's maybe my intrusive thought. But being able to see those differences from that 20, 30 odd years, what have you, that tickles me. I love that kind of stuff, that we're acknowledging that language needs to change to better match what are now standards in society, that we talk more about consent than used to be discussed in the 90s, where Disney might have a princess that gets kissed and she's asleep and everybody's like, yeah, that's fine, there's a lot to unpack there, maybe a different time.
Mm,
I liked it. I really liked Melissa McCarthy. I thought she was very funny. I thought she really nailed the Ariel piece. I always get kind of weirded out when there's new songs added. I feel like Eric was really walking around just like he was just blown, just singing in the wind, just singing. I was like,
can I say on that note, the Eric
please.
added song, okay, so I hated it the first time, and the second time I just hated it a little less. But I still was just I was trying to figure out what beat he was trying to catch, because I was like, he's just singing. What is the beat? What are you doing? And then he's like falling off the boat and his shirt all open. Like, I just didn't understand
Right.
what was
Listen.
happening. I didn't understand. I did.
While there were good changes, I struggled with Eric's song. I've only seen the film once. It made me want to get out. I'm like, here we go. Here's the beat. Here's you.
Exactly.
But I can't sing, so who the hell am I, right? And the mermaids tickled me as well, because there was one point, y'all can't see me, so I'll paint you a visual picture here, but there was one point where like the mermaids were all talking, and this one mermaid that like goes to the gym a lot was like clack, 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 like, Ariel, don't go, come back, girl. Stay away from the surface. And I'm like, I love that you have a 27 pack of abs, but
Yes.
you
Yes.
know,
Yes.
so there were changes, there were differences. It overall wasn't as bad as I was worried it would be, and that is saying a lot, because I really went in with a lot of nostalgia, and it takes a lot to break through that nostalgia,
Mhm.
and I think that's reflected in how many people are going to see it, how many people are going to see it multiple times.
Yes. Guilty. I would say too, so for me, the first time I went to go see it, actually both times, which sounds maybe sad, I don't know. I went by myself. The first time was intentional that I went by myself, because I knew that it was going to be like an emotional experience for me, just because of Hallie, and I had heard her rendition of part of your world, part of that
Yeah.
world, whatever it's called. I had heard that a number of times, and I was like, okay, she taking us to church. And so I knew that it was going to be a lot for me, and I just didn't want anybody to ruin it. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go by myself while everybody's at work and I'm just chilling. I'm going to go by myself. And that was so the first time and the second time, I feel like I cried on the same parts. The
Mm.
first time was during that song. And I think it was her, I think it's just her voice. Like, she has a beautiful voice, but I also think the visuals, like I there were a lot of shot by shot sort of like recreations. And then also I don't know if it was the combination, but that sent me immediately with that first song, because it was just beautiful to me. It was so beautiful. And I love that song. But she sang it. She sang it.
Oh, with an A, absolutely. I
Mhm.
mean, the musical direction there I thought was really on point. It's hard to take a classic and make it better.
Hmm.
And I think they did that for a lot of the songs. And that's really saying a lot because those have been songs that are like close to our heart,
Yes.
for so many years.
Yes, yes, yes. And I actually was somewhere this weekend that shall remain nameless, where I heard someone talking about the music in the new film, and they actually did not care for the 2023 reimagining of Under the Sea. Um, and I respectfully disagree. I loved it,
Okay.
but there were some concerns that some folks were raising. How did you feel about it?
I was not at that place that shall not be named, but I also like the original, the 1989 better. Now, mind you, quiet as it's kept, that song, looking back, is super duper racist.
Yeah.
Like my favorite part was one now that I look back as an adult and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get canceled. Like that's not okay. The part where the blackfish just singing and she comes through, goes like that. Like I was like, oh, honey.
Yes, yeah.
So I think they made a lot of changes, which are very good, right, and representative of. There's just some stuff we don't say no more, or some
Yes.
things that, for good reason, are
Mhm.
not, represented as being the blackfish, or
Mhm.
the Jamaican crab is not always necessarily singing to like a Caribbean beat and stuff like
Yes.
that. So I think they worked really hard to make some of the changes in a mindful way that I appreciated, even though if given the choice, some of those songs I'll absolutely go to the 1989 version.
Yes, yes. And I think I also, and this is where my sort of bias, for lack of a better word, comes in. Like, I didn't know upon going to watch the movie the first time that like Lin-Manuel Miranda did like a lot of the musical whatever
Yeah.
direction. And
Mhm.
then, so the second time when I was listening to Eric's song, I was like, Lin-Manuel, like, I'm going to trust you that you knew what you was doing with this beat. So I hate it a little less, even though I still don't get it. And so, even as I think about, speaking of which, how do you feel about the scuttlebutt?
That was my least favorite song. It was very Lin Manuel, very Hamilton rapping. I think a lot of the bias is based upon the actress and some of the things that she does outside of that role.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there was bias flying every which way for me,
Yes.
and I was like, ooh, I wasn't a fan of that song. So
Yes.
mhm.
I was telling, I think it was my mom about because I am not the biggest Aquafina fan. I just, she okay, but I was kind of and Scuttle is such a staple, I think, in the original film that I was like, how does it gonna work? How does it gonna work? And I think it was okay, but then here comes the scuttlebutt, and I'm like, oh no, oh
Yeah,
no.
they went there. That's what I'm saying. So they made these like cool changes. I went down a rabbit hole. So they changed the type of bird Scuttle is. Scuttle used to be a seagull, and now Scuttle is some other type of bird, which I'm not gonna look up right now, that goes underwater so that they could integrate Scuttle more into the storyline. Because obviously Flounder and all the rest of the gang are underwater. But I don't think I needed the scuttlebutt song. I didn't need that. I needed more like lovable, this is what this apparatus is. Oh, it's a fork. No, it's a hairbrush kind of thing from Scuttle. Not like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
need the like 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't need that Scuttle. But
Mm-hmm. 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 And I will say, so one of the biggest, okay, so two things I'll say because I'll compliment sandwich this. The other time I cried was at the very end of the film, spoiler
mm,
alert, when they're about to go off, and here comes King Triton and all the mer people, and he says to Ariel, "You shouldn't have had to lose your voice to be heard."
sobbing. Yeah.
I It was ugly crying, and there was a child next
Sobbing.
to me, and I was just about, I was about to start deboing and elbowing, like, you need to
Yeah.
back up. I'm having a moment, right?
Find your own beeswax, kid. Yeah.
But I think that in addition to that, King Triton was a miss for me. I think I was just kind of like, meh.
Yeah. I
It was a bit.
here's more of my horror movie bias. He's like the person that made No Country for Old Men for me. So
Mhm,
I see him in a very different context.
mhm,
I don't I think they took the King Triton character to such a low depth where he's just full on like going into her private space and wrecking it because
Mhm.
he's trying to keep her tethered to the seafloor, right?
Mhm.
And I don't know that you can come through a character arc that quickly to be like, oh, I wish I knew
Yes.
that, I should listen to my daughters, all of them, when they're saying something at a whisper rather than a shout. And
Mhm.
Ariel's shout in that new film was obviously going to, the sea witch, Ursula.
Mhm.
I struggle with that because on one hand, the Triton character always kind of came across as like a loving dad, but like a dad that just didn't have the parenting skills to be like, hey, listen, the reason why I don't want you up there is because I've got some trauma because in the film, your mom, Ariel, died at the hands of a human. And that's why I really struggle when you, one of her daughters, is like really entranced with the cool parts of them, but you don't see that the things that I see, that how much fish they consume, how much of their nets and their garbage flow into our waters and whatever. They kind of got into some of that when like the sisters were picking up the, I don't know, the wreck of
Mhm.
the boat or something like that. But it was a lot. And then I also struggled with this concept that really, yet again, Ariel, the black woman, had to save herself. I struggle with that.
Mhm.
I feel
Mhm.
like there's a lot to unpack there.
Yes, because I would say, okay, so the thing I appreciate what you mentioned about King Triton because I remember how I still remember the scene in the 1989 animated version of him destroying all of her stuff. Like
Mm-hmm.
that scarred me a little bit, right?
Yeah,
And
it's
I
scary.
think that I carried that into this film and it was just lackluster. Like when he was destroying her stuff in the new film, she was like, "No, stop.
No way, please don't.
Dad, stop." Whereas it was very like intense and I would almost say violent in the 1989 movie. And in this one, it was not that. And I wonder if that was also intentional because it definitely to me had a very different feel. It wasn't as angry. I mean, he still did it, but it wasn't in the way that he did it in the animated film. So I don't know why they did that, but I think that was the first for me that I was like, oh, this is a different King Triton because he wasn't really that mad. He wasn't really that mad at Sebastian. Like he was just kind of mellow the whole time, which I guess is
Yeah.
fine. It was just
I don't know if they had like a a survey or something they took. That was definitely a scary part in the 89 film. The part that I thought was scary in the 23 film was the ending scene where Ursula's grown to this
yes,
gargantuan version of herself. And I'm like, this is actually kind of terrifying.
yes, yes,
Or the death of Triton.
yes.
And I'm like, that was terrible. Like that's horrifying. I felt like I was watching a horror film in that
Yes.
moment. So I think they just pick and choose where to sprinkle the trauma this go around.
You know from 10 minutes ago how I feel about the ocean. The deep
It's
water. And so that was
it's so
absolutely
scary.
when you see her big sort of gargantuan figure and there's nothing
Yeah.
around her but water, I'm like, no. See, where are
Mm-mm.
they? Why is it so far out? Like I don't get it. Weren't they just in this castle and now there's nothing? Like I was just
He
confused.
hand rowed this rowboat out, and now all of a sudden they're 10 miles into sea. And I'm like, no, couldn't do it.
And he
Wouldn't be
dove
me.
in and threw something and then came back up and everything's fine. It's totally
Couldn't do couldn't do
it's totally fine. Um
it. Yeah, just self-soothe. That's what I was doing. I was rocking in my
what's
chair. I was like, this is a lot. This is becoming a lot.
and you brought up the ending too, because that was the first thing I told my husband when I came back. I was like, they changed the end because you remember in the animated film, Eric saves Ariel, and in the new film, sorry, spoiler alert. In the new film, she kills Ursula herself. And I remember reading something after the fact that which I would be interested in your thoughts because I had feelings when I read this. People were praising the new ending because they said, and I don't remember where this is from, but I remember this quote distinctly. Ariel had to clean up her own mess. Her dad and Eric didn't have to clean up her mess. She cleaned it up herself.
I'm not trying to go radio silent on you. I'm struggling with that. And I think my struggle is the sense of blaming that I
Yes.
feel about that. That feels like victim blaming. I am 100% there with you. I have raged against the machine. I'm like, Ariel, 1989 Ariel, just write down on a piece of paper, hey, bro, look, let me explain to you what happened. The Sea Witch, she took my voice. We just need to kiss right quick. And then, like, we can go on some dates or whatever and see if this thing will work.
Right.
But here's what's happening. They
Mm.
fixed that, which I did appreciate that they fixed that in the new one, where Ursula added a little like Salt Bay seasoning on it and also gave her a, memory loss spell of
Right.
some sort. So she couldn't just write down what
Hmm.
was going on. But I struggle with that quote because that is assuming that the person entering into what is already a really toxic relationship with her paternal aunt, right?
Hmm.
Ursula, compared to Ariel. I think that that is assuming that everything is fair. If I, am walking around with an unopened can of paint in the garage, yeah, I got to clean up my own mess. But to
Hmm.
say that Ariel then has to go into this relationship where she knows nothing about her aunt except that she's like this bad person, according
Hmm.
to her dad. And she also knows her dad says everything's bad except for him and being
Hmm.
in the ocean.
Hmm.
That's assuming a lot. So I struggle with that. I don't know.
Hmm.
It feels icky to me.
Yes, yes, and I appreciate you putting like language to that because I'm also appreciative of what you just mentioned a few moments ago about how Ariel, as a black woman, has to save herself. You know what I'm saying? And it's like everybody else get aid except her. You know what I'm saying? Like and so because there was part of me that I cheered because I was like, yeah, girl, you can do it.
Oh yeah.
Then, when you sit and think about that, I just read Trisha Hershey's book, Rest is Resistance, and what she talked about a little
Mm.
there is, we black women carry as a badge of honor, like, I got it. I can do it. I can do all of this myself. And
Mhm.
what she argues is that's actually capitalism and white supremacy, like setting us up to fail.
1,000,000%. This is the double-edged sword of only enlisting white feminism, and
Mhm.
anything aside from feminism from a multicultural context is white supremacy based feminism.
Mhm.
Enlisting this white feminism concept of like, we can do it for ourselves, we don't need a prince. That's all well and good. And that is empowering for a lot of people. Not saying it's not. Period. End of sentence. New sentence.
Mhm.
Sometimes that has very different context for Black women who, of course, have to shoulder this burden.
Mhm.
Oftentimes we get taught, you can figure it out, you can help out Black men. How can Black women vote enough so that, this political party doesn't win, or that, this, that, and the third, where we get shouldered as Black women with this superwoman expectation. And that's heavy sometimes. Sometimes it is resistance to just say, I need a break. And that's okay.
Mhm.
So that's maybe why I struggle with that kind of blaming context of what Ariel was going through. Now, mind you, I was a doofus when I was, how old is she? 16 in the film? Like, of course,
Mhm.
like you make impulsive choices and all this other
Mhm.
stuff. But I struggle with that because if you don't look at that through a racial trauma lens, you're not going to be able to see how tough it is to say, well, yeah, of course she has to save herself, as
Mhm.
opposed to maybe she can lean on her community. Maybe her sisters come up and help her in the
Mhm.
new film. That might be more applicable to like the Black or the African diaspora or the African American experience, in
Mhm.
which not so much this like Western concept of like rugged stoicism, John Wayne, I can do everything by myself, but it's more, no, I need my community. I need you, Dr. Hens, like as my community when something's going on. So,
Mhm.
and maybe I'm thinking too much because I mean she's literally like hanging out with like a flounder and like a crab, a crab with like a Jamaican accent. So maybe I'm thinking too much about it. But if I had to put on my academic hat, I would bring up those concepts. And that's probably why it feels icky to me. It feels like you're not taking into account. You're
Yes.
imagining that, that's the example of Chris Rock in one of the new Saws, right? Where he's a Black police officer, but you don't talk about it. And that's what feels disingenuous
Mhm.
to a lot of
Mhm.
us. It's like you have to talk about it. You can't just insert Blackness into a storyline and then not share the perspective through the lens, the accurate or authentic lens of Blackness, which
Mhm.
is not homogenous. It's not the same for everybody, but you got to
Mhm.
do something with it. And I don't think they did.
Child, you speaking my language? You speaking my language? Because that's just random deviation we're gonna take right now. That's exactly what I wrote about with regard to Stranger Things in Stranger Things Psychology. Pick it up where books are sold. But my chapter in that book was absolutely about the, dare I say, harmful representation of Black people in Stranger Things, because they did not do what it is that you just references. They're painting this, rosy 80s nostalgia Indiana picture. It wasn't like that for the Black people, because I'm gonna tell you it wasn't. You know what I'm saying? 80s Indiana it
No,
wasn't like that for Black folks. You know what I'm saying?
90s Indiana, absolutely not.
2023 Indiana. No
I'll,
shade.
I'll tell you
No
what.
shade.
And that's a good point. I'm comfortable sharing. I grew up in Illinois, so
Mm-hmm.
it's not Indiana, but we're adjacent. So I
Mm-hmm.
can speak to certain
Same.
experiences where we also get what we call the talk, right? Where you and your little friends can run around and build a fort and
Mm-hmm.
go into abandoned buildings and do all this other stuff. But if the cops come, that's going to be a very different circumstance for me, the little Black kid, as opposed to my little friends. That's what my mom would say, your little friends, right?
Your little friend. I ain't one of your little friends.
Right.
Absolutely. My dear friends, I hope you are enjoying this conversation as much as I am. I hope you're having as much fun as I had in having this conversation with my dear friend, Dr. Lauren Chapple-Love. And because it was so awesome, I'm going to invite you back for part 2, for the epic conclusion to our critical BLerd analysis about The Little Mermaid. So, until next time, until we meet again to bring you this conclusion, I wish you and your families safety, health, and joy. Until next time, beautiful people.